All right, so now we're on to our films of the week. David, what did you see this week?
Okay, I will start off with Kill Chain.
Kilt Chain.
Kill Chain
Kilt?
is
Kilt Chain?
kill.
Not Scottish.
That would be a whole different genre of film.
Sounds like some Scottish gang, Kilt Chain. Go.
This one, I have to give a shout out to my buddy Spencer Gray. He's part of the group. He's also a filmmaker. Um, Me and Spencer, from our discussions, our taste in movies pretty damn similar. So usually when we recommend something to each other, we're usually pretty good at making the other person happy. Um, this film is starring Nick Cage, just came out this year, and I know it's on Amazon Prime. I know I've seen the thumbnail and I've just went right past it every time because I have a love-hate thing with Nick Cage. Um, I either love the film he's in or I hate it. There's usually not much in between. Um, I think a film has to be for Nick Cage. You can't just write a script and say, now I'm gonna put Nick Cage in it. You have to have it has to work for him.
You can tell when it's like that too. Like he's just not himself.
But this film, it's a neo-noir film. Takes place in, I don't think it's a named city in Mexico, but I'm going to say Mexico City, I believe is where it takes place. It starts off with two assassins, um, and first off, there's an assassin looking for his hit, and then he finds out that he is the true target.
Oh.
So it's kind of a standoff between two assassins who know each other. But then the film, it just follows this line of different murders and just kind of craziness, almost like a Tarantino film. You have these small little stories that seem kind of connected, but you have no idea how they are connected until the whole story comes together. Um, so it starts off. You see those assassins, but it really starts off as Nick Cage. He's running this hotel, and a couple guys come in, seemingly want to kill him, and it's him telling this story.
Is he narrating the whole thing?
He's not narrating, but it's sort of saying, let me tell you what really happened, and then it goes into the meat of the film. It's directed by Ken Sanzel, which I'm not familiar with his work, but it was a pretty strong film and had really good action. Nick Cage is really subdued and subtle in this film, which is not words that usually go along with saying Nick Cage.
There was no coke allowed on the set.
Yeah, there's no total freak out moments. His dialogue is very like old 50s noir, like a detective, one-liners and stuff, which is I kind of like that. It's kind of a throwback. But it was a solid film. I think I rated it a 7 out of 10, which for me is a solid film. The one thing I want to bring up, the opening credits and music is so bad. It's like late 90s, early 2000s network television opening.
Oh.
Don't let that stop you from seeing the film, because like I saw that, I'm like, Spencer, what did you get me into? It was so bad.
Was there a reason? Well, like, was the setting 90s-ish at the time when it opens up?
It's an undisclosed time. It's definitely, I think it's present day. I didn't get any type of.
Okay.
But the culmination of the plot and the motives you don't really know till the end, and it is kind of far fetched, but it is an action film. It ends up being kind of like a revenge tale. But I can't really say much more because I don't want to spoil for you. But it's one of the better action films I've seen this year. So it was a fun watch. Check it out on Amazon Prime, and most of us have that. And yeah, give it a shot. I thought it was a pretty solid film.
Nicolas Cage. I love watching Nicolas Cage movies. And yeah, like you said, sometimes it is a toss up. I think the last one I didn't like that I saw was Lord of War, I think was the name of it, where he's that gun salesman.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, I know. I heard a lot of people liked it. There was something strange about his acting, though. I felt like he was very downplayed, and like I wanted a little more of that crazy on the edge Nicolas Cage. And obviously, maybe the character didn't call for it, so I was, barking up the wrong tree,
I
looking
don't
for
think
the.
I don't think I mentioned. I think I was speaking to somebody else. I don't think I mentioned on the show, but there's a one called Mom and Dad.
Yeah, that was in the last show with
Oh,
Alex.
okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Me and Alex are talking about that, but yeah, that's a fun Nick Cage film to check out.
Yeah, I remember
And
that
of
was
course,
fun.
Mandy. He goes full Nick Cage and Mandy.
All right.
So, what films? What film would you like to talk about that was on your watch list this week?
Well, I was anticipating watching this movie for a while because I heard it was coming out, and I feel it was a little misleading. A Black Christmas was what I saw. I went to see it with my friend Ramon, and
You
I
thought it was
think
like a Medea thing, didn't you?
he he told me at the end of the movie, he's like, he had no idea. I mean, I guess he didn't see any trailers or even a poster because that would have given it away right away.
Yeah.
But he was expecting it to be like, yeah, like some black culture movie. And he was like, after about like 5 minutes, and he's like, this is not what I thought it was. But I was even more disappointed by it than he was because I knew what I was walking into, and man, was this just garbage. The 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 movie almost gave a premise of like that it was going to be about sorority fighting back. The fighting back by the sorority only happens in like the last 10 minutes of the movie. Short of that, the movie is basically a typical a hooded person killing some people, killing the sorority. And you know what's going to happen. The whole setup for the whole movie, everyone who you think is bad, they're bad. There's no surprises, there's no real twists. The even how everything is evil, I have to say this. It's given away. You understand it. Like if you've seen horror movies, you get it in the first 20 minutes of the movie. And you think like there's more. There's no more to this movie after that. Then it's just about who's going to die, who's going to live. That's it. And that doesn't even matter at this point because the story is so weak. The deaths are such crap. I don't even think this was an R. I think it was a
It
PG-13.
was PG-13.
Yeah, I didn't realize that because I was like, wow, these deaths are so super weak. And so it starts out, there's a bust of this guy in this college, this university, and there's a petition that has been done to get it removed. And so it goes back to this fraternity's house. And there they discover that there's this black goo that's coming out of it, and there's this black magic that was done to it. The founder's head, it's the founder's bust. The founder did some black magic on this goop, and he stored it in the head. And whoever gets anointed with that, they start anointing the pledges with that and making them kill certain women, certain sorority women. And so whoever gets anointed with that, they just become these like zombies, these murder zombies, and they kill whoever they.
Are you fucking serious?
This is the movie, man. Like this is
Have
so
you ever
dumb.
seen the original?
No. Wait, no, the original one is not about this at all, right? It's just some
No,
guy.
the original was it's considered by many to be the first slasher film ever.
Oh,
Um,
really? I wish I saw
directed
that one.
directed by Bob Clark, who did A Christmas Story, believe it or not. Um,
Oh, the one, the one with the kid, the collecting
yeah,
glass.
yeah, he's known for Black Christmas and A Christmas Story, so both two separate realms of Christmas films.
Do you know what year that was? The original
I
Black
would
Christmas?
say 74, maybe.
1974. Yeah, I see it here.
Um,
Oh, I want to see that. A
but
Canadian slasher film.
yeah, and it's a classic horror film. It is one of the first, like the prototype of, it's basically is a big influence on John Carpenter with Halloween.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a lot of people love it. I think it's a good film. But a lot of people consider it an absolute classic. I think it's a good film, but I don't know why they even named this movie Black Christmas. And it was just remade, I'm going to say 2006, 2008, somewhere around there. So it was remade not too long ago.
This movie was just so stupid. So they're anointing these pledges and getting them to kill people. They are killing women in sororities, like more than one group. Okay, there's this backdrop, this story going on in the background. How this the main character. Oh, I love her name, Imogen Poots. She was sexually assaulted by one of the frat brothers in one of the places, and so they perform this kind of sexy jingle bells thing, which I'm like, why did you even go? Why are you even going to do this performance? But they turn around and the lyrics are actually pro women and against sexual assault. So I was like, that was the best part of the movie, where everyone thought they were going to do a sexy little number, and it actually was like to call out all the kind of typical frat shit that they do. Anyway,
Now,
yeah.
is this like a man hating movie?
So they do, yes, yes.
Like particularly white men?
Not particularly, but the entire cast of evil men are all white.
It's I'm it just baffles me. I haven't seen the film, but from what I gather, I I have a strong hatred for when you try to empower one group of people
Mm-hmm.
by putting down another group of people. It's just the worst way of
Mm.
trying to speak for equality is saying you're better than the other. Because it's not like, hey, let's shake hands and be equals. It's like these people are terrible, and it's the opposite of misogyny.
There's a couple good guys in this movie that are probably the only two that you'd want to relate to at all in this movie. But yeah, it's only really those two. Um, there's a scrawny black guy, which plays the semi-love interest for the main character, and then the other one dies, who is the boyfriend who just shortly before his death and getting kicked out of the house, but also before his death, he stands up and he's like, I'm not one of those guys. Why are you putting me in that category and blah, blah. And he kind of stands up for that whole thing, that whole generic misogyny that is going on. Or no, the generic man hate anyway that's going on in the movie, and that the women are all kind of pushing that whole agenda in the movie. And he stands up and says, "Why, I'm a guy. You think I'm like that?" And they're like, "No, no, not you." But they're talking very generically
You're
around
one
him,
of
so
the
he
good
gets
ones.
pissed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're like, "No, not you." So anyway, but that's the whole fight back seemed like that was going to be way earlier in the movie. It was just like a typical slasher, like, I mean, a crappy slasher, up until like the final 10 minutes when they're like, we should fight back. And there's a lot of cheesy lines at the end. They realize they have to destroy the bust or something. So she's holding it up, and oh my gosh, there's so much that they like throw a line in there when it's like they're trying to get her to choose whether she she has to choose between death or like getting killed or converting to become to stand next to a man, to be at that level behind a man. And so then they're like it's your right to choose or something, like he says. I'm like, oh boy, god.
Yeah.
It's so like heavy handed with that line. And
So
then later,
is it kind of counterproductive to have all the evil come from a big bust?
oh my gosh, this this movie, I'm just telling you, even the kills were like they're PG-13 kills. So I feel like there was more than one strangling with Christmas lights. There's one of the killers kills someone with an icicle. Another killing. Oh, so in the first death, she's running away. Well, she feels like she's being stalked. Eventually, it's the wrong guy. She misinterpreted the guy who's just walking behind her as the bad guy. He's not. And then a hooded figure is just in front of her, and she starts getting away from this walking hooded figure. She knocks on a door. Eventually, it's like all the stupid things that you think. Because you're like, it's going to be the killer. There's a hooded guy inside who answers the door to that house. That specific house she happens to stop on the way. And then he turns around and there's another hooded guy. It's just, there's a guy with a bow and arrow who attacks them, comes after them at one point. And they're just standing there. Like, these guys aren't superhuman strength. There's nothing really special. They're just wearing hoods. And they're these stupid weapons. Just kill that man. Go over there. He has to reload his bow. It's not even a crossbow. He literally has to pull and
he's not like Hawkeye.
I mean, he does get a guy in the face at one point, but no, I don't think so. It was stupid.
And you know what I love, Raj? I love how if you hate a film, it's all right to spoil it.
Wait, have I held you back about a movie that? Have I really? A movie that?
No, I'm just saying.
I feel like
if it's a terrible movie, you should just spoil it.
Well, I feel like I'm doing everyone a favor. Like, don't give this movie any money. Don't go see it. Download it illegally. Because it's a crappy movie.
And then show it to people you don't like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Buy it for Christmas for people.
Well, I will go into my next film. This is, I believe it came out last year, or might have. It's one of those might have been released to a film festival, and a lot of people are just being able to see it now. But it's a Mexican horror film called Belzebuth.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, this was it was a weird film. It's a demonic possession film, but the story starts off with a lot of child murder. Like, there's a lot. One of the opening scenes is a nurse stabbing babies.
Oh God.
Now you see the act of stabbing. You don't see any penetration of babies and stuff, but it's that really punched me in the stomach, because a lot of filmmakers won't go there.
Yeah.
There's another one that's a mass shooting at in a kindergarten class.
Oof.
So there's reasons why the children are picked. I won't go into the reason why, because that would give away some major plot points. But the film's really, really, really dark. It has to do with demonic possession, and children in some form or the other will be saviors. So it's the acting.
Oh, I see.
It stars Joaquin Casio and Tobin Bell. Most of us will know Tobin Bell as Jigsaw. But Joaquin Casio does a brilliant job. His son is one of the babies that's murdered, and he's a police detective. And he pretty much carries this whole film. From being very depressed, breaking down over his son, to then having to investigate these other child murders. The film is, I would say, probably 75% subtitled, but there is some English, because there are a few American characters, including Tobin Bell. My biggest issue with the film is it's a personal preference that I don't like. It's very, very Christian. I mean, it's a Mexican film, and Mexico is a very Catholic country, So I understand that. I also understand going into a demon possession film, there are going to be some religious aspects to it.
Yeah.
But this one is so religious. Which, I can deal with demonic. I can deal with demonic shit going on, but it's hard for me to suspend my disbelief for religion.
So it was more like pro-religion.
um, yeah, it's definitely pro-religion. So it's
Okay.
pro-Catholicism.
Not just as a tool to fight the evil. It was actually felt like it was being promoted in the movie.
Mm, It's definitely good versus evil,
Mm.
and the Christian religion is all the good. Um, One thing that really hurt it for me too was, you can tell the budget. There's some CGI. There's a scene where a neck is sliced with CGI blood. That's almost an
Oh,
unforgivable sin for me. Um, because that's not a hard practical effect to do. A
yeah.
throat slice with a bladder shooting out blood, to go and have it computerized, that just kills it for me. Um, but there's a lot of nice set pieces in the film. There is some other use of CGI that's pretty good. Because the CGI used where CGI should be used, or not should be used, where it makes sense to be used, I should say anyway. Um, but I gave this film a 5 out of 10. I can't really highly recommend it, but there are some strong scenes. I also feel Tobin Bell was just put in there for name recognition.
Mm.
Um, Anybody could have played his part. There was just really no real need for him. He didn't really add much to the film.
Mm.
But yeah, it was halfway decent. I made it through it. I didn't turn it off, and it didn't bore me totally. Just I didn't agree a lot with the message and the CGI effects.
Oh, yeah. When you said Tobin Bell, I looked it up just now, and I was like, oh, maybe. And then you were like, oh, Tobin Bell was a waste. Oh, okay. Well, those were the only one I even recognized in here anyway. Hmm. All
But the
right.
performance by the lead character is a strong performance. It's like for a low budget horror film. I wouldn't. This isn't low budget. This is mid level, I would say. But very very strong performance for that area of the genre.
And budget was 3.6 million.
Which is a mid level horror budget.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Well, you could. You got to think. Lighthouse was 8 million.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's gross so far, half that, 1.5 million. So it's on its way.
So,
Yeah.
what's the next film did you want to tell our
I,
lucky listeners about?
I feel bad now. Now I think I'm gonna have to edit that Black Christmas down because you were like, "Oh, you can reveal it," and I'm always getting on you about it.
Oh, I don't care if you trash it. I don't want anybody to see that shitty film anyway.
Gosh, okay, well, fine.
I hope somebody's like so mad that you spoiled it they won't watch it.
Because but what if somebody likes it? Like, I don't know. I feel bad. Like, what if they
Oh,
really want to see it for themselves? I
yeah.
have to think about that.
I think we did that on another film though that was really bad, so we said fuck it. I can't remember which one, but
Oh. No, I mean it's not even worth its own segment. But I don't know. I'll think about it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. The other movie I saw, so it's kind of a two-parter because I saw not the first Jumanji, but the first Rock Jumanji. You know that,
gee.
the Rock, um, Jumanji. Welcome to the Jungle. I saw that with the family on Saturday, at home. it was our 34th family theater night, family fun day, and for my daughter's birthday, she loves The Rock. For my daughter's birthday, we saw the second one, Jumanji: The Next Level, on Tuesday. Um, it wasn't a home run just because The Rock was in it, David. It was still fun though. It was Danny DeVito's in there, but not really for long. If you know the sort of the premise of the first one is that they get sucked into a game and they become these characters, one of which is The Rock, and the other one is Jack Black. The other one is some girl. Oh, the girl who plays Nebula. I don't know her real name. Um, from Avengers. Avengers? Yeah, Avengers. Oh my God, I was gonna say Marvel. Nebula, that girl. And the other one, oh, Nick Jonas is in it. He comes back, great, to reprise his role. But it was funny. We enjoyed it. It was pretty funny. So this time, what happens is there's these two older characters, elderly characters, who end up taking over the roles of The Rock, and oh my gosh, that guy, I can't even think of his name now. Black comedian, short.
Oh, Kevin.
Kevin Hart. That's right. That's the other one I forgot. Yeah, Kevin Hart is in it too. Kevin Hart is probably the most consistently funny throughout the whole movie. The Rock is inhabited by Danny DeVito.
How many
So
times does he lift his eyebrow?
not enough. Okay,
Not enough.
David, I'll say that.
That
There's
should be a drinking game.
a couple. Every time
he lifts his eyebrow.
he wasted before the beginning of the movie. So he gets inhabited. Danny DeVito takes over the body of The Rock, and Danny Glover takes over the body of Kevin Hart. And Kevin Hart plays it really well. I mean, like an old black man. He's black, so I mean, it's much more of a believable transformation. But with The Rock, he tries to do that Jersey, New York accent, and it just doesn't work in the beginning until you just have to kind of forget about it. And then the rest of his acting, like he's sort of acting like Danny DeVito, like an old guy, and he's funny. And those two really make it work for the rest of the movie. But other than that, story's a little formulaic, like the first one. Towards the end, it's a little different. I mean, it was a fun watch. We saw it in IMAX, so that was a lot of fun too for the kids. It was a lot of fun. I liked it. It was a fun watch, and it's The Rock. So if you love
It's
The
The
Rock,
Rock.
yeah, you can't go wrong.
Is it better
And
than the Tooth Fairy?
oh God, I've avoided seeing that movie, but I think it's on my list somewhere. I'm sure my daughter would love to see that movie where he's a father and all that stuff.
Well, I'm going to do my movie of the week. I
If you have to.
watched. Yeah, this is my pick for the week.
Mhm.
I watched, this is probably the strangest but most beautiful film I've seen in a while. It's an Estonian fairy tale slash horror film called November.
Oh,
Um, it is. It's even hard. It's very surreal. It's hard to explain. But the film starts off. Um, there are. There is this object which is made out of bones, animal bones, um, some farming tools, and the film starts off, and this thing is just rolling along. It's animated. Um, so just to give you how weird this film is, it's rolling along, um, almost like a wheel, and there's a cow there. So this object lassos the cow and then starts turning like a helicopter to slowly lift in the air and drag the cow away. That's how the film starts off.
okay.
And it brings the cow back to the village. So we find out that these objects are called crats, which They're put together by the town folk. So the town folk go to the devil. They sell their soul to get a soul to put into Kratts, and the Kratts end up being kind of like their slaves. Like the Kratts call them master, and they do all their bidding. That's just a small part of this film.
Okay.
It's shot in black and white, and it's one of those films where every frame is like a painting. It's just drop dead gorgeous. There's a weird love triangle that's involved where it's unrequited on each side. So one of the village girls loves another village boy, but the village boy is in love with an aristocrat. So none of them they're not falling in love with anybody that they should be falling in love with. So it's just kind of just chasing each other's in circles. I think a lot of me missing out on some of this film is my ignorance of Estonian culture, because it's obvious some folklore that has to do with their culture. But the film is so beautiful and captivating that even though you don't understand fully what is going on, you can't take your eyes off of it. There's times where the film is overexposed, so everything looks almost dreamlike, or like it's a winter wonderland kind of. So it's very bright whites. That's not a technique that you see used too often, and unfortunately, we don't see black and white used too often anymore. But it's so surreal, and I couldn't say it more. It's just gorgeous to look at. Some of the images, like I just couldn't get out of my mind. So this film is going to lead me to start researching more of Estonian folklore. That's how impressive the film is. Just because I want to be able to understand some of it more. I don't know if there's some real stories that can help me understand it. Is the director just trying to be surreal and playing with images? So I'm guessing maybe I can learn that through a little more research. But I give the film an 8.5.
How did you hear about this film?
It is on Shudder, but I've also seen in a couple other groups, talking about folk horror, which I'm a huge fan of folk horror. But also like kind of the surreal type aspect of film, and I've seen a couple people talk about this film, and I've seen people talk about the cinematography, and it's just strange that I felt so out of touch with the film, but so captivated by it at the same time. So I'm not sure if I'm supposed to understand it or not, but I couldn't stop watching it.
And were there any familiar actors, or these were all like just...
It's all Estonian. I mean, the people in the village, they look like people in the village. Like there's...
They may not even be on payroll. They're just people who live there.
Like the two females in the love triangle, I would say they're cute. They're nowhere near like a Hollywood actress. That type of Hollywood idea of beauty. But everybody else, it looks like they dragged them out of an 18th century village and put them on film. Yeah, I'd never heard of the director before. It was... Now, I don't know how many films are put out, how many Estonian films were put out, but with the Academy, do the Oscars... Every country that puts out a film, they pick one from each country to represent it as its best foreign film from that country. So this was Estonia's entry in 2018. But again, I don't know how many films. I could tell you where Estonia is on a map. That's just because I'm good at that type of stuff anyway. I've always been good at geography, and I've always been a history buff. But Estonia is a tiny little country that was Russian bloc. It's a Baltic country, and it's just tiny little country that I couldn't even tell you much more about the country other than the location and that it used to be part of the Soviet Union. So I'm totally ignorant to what goes on in Estonia.
Do
So
they actually have a movie production, a movie industry, or was this by someone who just kind of made the setting there?
I am thinking that it is all Estonians. If I remember correctly, they did get some production. In Europe, a lot of countries give out grants to make films.
Yeah.
So I think there was grants from other countries involved, but you would never think just the way it's shot and everything. I put it up there cinematography wise for like the level of The Witch. Just how well it's done, how period it does look.
I mean, that's what came to mind as you were describing, and then I looked it up. The first thing I was thinking of was like witch when you said like folk, and like that old timey kind of feel.
Yeah, they do a brilliant job, and I mean they're shooting on real film more than likely. I don't think they did this digitally. I didn't do that much research on the background of the film, but if they're shooting on 35 millimeter, that's expensive in and of itself. So they had to have some kind of budget there. I'm gonna look up now.
It says 1 million euros budget,
Which is what was it, about 1.25 million, 1.5 million.
Worldwide gross is $19,000.
Yeah, it's from Estonia.
Wait, what is that in Estonian? They're like super rich now. Convert that to Estonian money.
Yeah, then they're even on the euro. Like
€1. So this is 1.4 million 400. That's 1 million. Oh no, they're not making this money back yet. This isn't. This is not possible.
So the production company is called Homeless Bob Production and Opius Film and PRPL, and it's distributed through some European film companies. I don't even know how Shudder got their hands on this. The cover art's a little misleading because they have a goat on there, like they're really trying to piggyback on maybe Black Phillip from The Witch. The village is inhabited by personified Black Death spirits, werewolves, and the devil himself. The werewolf thing, don't take that very literally, because that's kind of left up. Is that a werewolf? It's really just a wolf. But
Rolling Stone has a review on the cover of this picture. It says, "Part grim fairy tale, part Eastern European folklore, and all fever dream. It's as beautiful as it is profoundly weird as fuck."
And that's a great review. That's a great 2-sentence review there. It does have 96% on Rotten Tomatoes out of 23 reviews.
Yeah.
So that means what, one person didn't, 3 or 4 people didn't like it, 3 reviewers. If you're looking for something just really strange and surreal, I highly recommend this. If you're into like David Lynch or Jodorowsky, that type of stuff, it's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I give it 8.5, so that means I think it's brilliant.
That means it's brilliant. That means you think it's brilliant.
That means I think it's brilliant.
You think it's brilliant. Okay, fine.
I don't give out too many 8.5s.
What's another 8.5? What's another 8 that you could compare it to in terms of ranking?
I mean, I gave The Lighthouse a 9. Did I give that a 9 or 9.5? I would say Midsummer's probably 8.5.
Oh, God, I don't want to hear about Midsummer. I don't. Your Midsummer review.
Like Joker's a 9 for me.
Okay. Oh, wow. Then this is an 8.5.
Yeah, it's just so original. And like I said, some of the best cinematography, and it's a piece of art. It's really, all film is art, but this is the high end of the art spectrum. And like I said, I wish I knew a little bit more about the folklore to help me understand it a little bit more, but that didn't stop me from appreciating the beauty of it. Go check that out. It's on Shudder.
Will I need a cup of coffee? Is it that kind of artsy?
I think it's so weird that I don't think it will get too boring. I mean, when there's some stuff that happens, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Maybe if you're watching it at 10 o'clock at night, you might want a little cup of coffee.
Which I usually end up watching all my movies at like 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. So. I
was captivated by it. The guy who plays the devil, he just plays it really over the top and strange. And and the stuff's never outwardly explained to you, like this is the devil. You just kind of figure out that's the devil.
Oh, it's
it leaves a lot open for interpretation. But the Kratts, those things are pretty funny and cool.
Now I want to see at least the first 5 minutes just to see what that.
Yeah, you see that first 5 minutes. I was hooked. I was like, "What the? What the fuck is this?"
The effects looked good.
It's either they had, it's not like stop motion or anything, so they I guess they must have had some real thin wire making it go, because it's either a 3-prong or like a 4-prong type thing. So it has 3 or 4 legs. I don't remember which exactly, but it's just going end over end, almost like it's a wheel, just rolling around looking for the cow. And then you see like a chain go around the cow's neck, and then it cuts away and it's starting to fly through the air. And the cow is flying through the air.
I want to see that.
And it's meant, I don't think, it's not unintentionally funny. I think there's some little humor. It's meant to have a little bit of humor there. But yeah, it's I would suggest checking it out just for the oddity of it.
I want to check it out just for that scene, and then if it's as good as you described, then I will sit through it for the rest. I'll give it a chance. Full runtime, hour and a half or so. Yeah,
about 2 hours. Nothing. 115 minutes.
Not super artsy.
What do you think? 2.5 hours, super artsy, or?
Yeah, 2.5, 3 hours starts to get pretty artsy fartsy. But
I think it just really depends on the film.
Like it's pretty much the artsy fartsiness.
What's Hereditary? 2 hours.
Yeah.
The Witch is probably about 2 hours.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit more. I feel like The Witch was a little longer. All right, well, that's our show for the week, folks. And what a great audience they've been. Haven't they been awesome, David?
Oh, yeah.
So
love
quiet.
The feedback.
Yeah, very supportive. Just not a peep out of them. It's very nice to have such a polite audience. You have been listening to Coast to Coast Film Reviews. Thanks again for visiting us and checking us out. And if you guys aren't in the group, please join. We are now over 300 members. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening and reading our posts and listening to the podcast. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. I'm Raj. Have a good night.
And this is David. Have a great time and day.